I never had many friends, not to mention I was antisocial. I always felt unwanted in a sense. I was always too shy to try to even talk to people. At a young age, my parents were killed, and I was adopted by my only friend's parents. After my 3 years in the asylum, it's been 11 years. 11 years since someone knows something killed my parents and left me to suffer all alone, without nobody to understand or know what I've been through. Whatever it was happened while I was asleep that night, back when I was 7. My parents were on the computer when I went to sleep. The next thing I remember, I sleepwalked, and when I woke up, I was standing in the hallway, watching as my parents took their final breaths. I was covered in their blood somehow. There was a man standing over the corpse, sushing, with one finger on his lip. He had reddish black hair, and a sinister smile glowing with purple eyes, and glowing purple ink dripping from his mouth. When I rubbed my eyes to figure out what was going on, he wasn't there anymore. I just saw a glimpse of a hand go into the computer. I saw pieces of paper on the floor by the computer and a bloody kitchen knife by my parents' corpse. I didn't think to read the papers. I just thought to read the one that was by my feet. I wasn't even scared, just dazed, not knowing what was going on. The paper read, "Sleep, little one, and have sweet dreams, because I'll come for you later." I passed out after I read the paper, and when I woke up, I remember my parents' bodies were gone. I cried, realizing what was going on, looking for the pieces of paper. They were burned, but before I fell asleep, they were perfectly fine, just with blood spatter on them. Thankfully, I was smart enough to call the police after I woke up. I have to warn my only friend and his family. The way they grew up together, we were like siblings. I couldn't sit here not doing anything while everyone is in danger. I was put into an insane asylum because people thought I was lying and went crazy after I watched my parents die. But it was the truth. That's why I have to tell him and everyone else reading this that I'm not insane and to be careful of this thing. It all went down like this. It's a late night and I'm on my computer like usual, on my nocturnal time cycle. I'm drawing something on my computer. The screen flashed black, and the drawing was deleted after the screen turned back to normal. One of my older files was open. It was one of my attempts to draw something scary. I closed the window and returned to what I was doing before, dismissing the file opening as my computer just acting up. As the sun rose, I looked down at the clock. 6 a.m. I sighed and said to myself, guess I have to go to sleep now. I woke up later and went downstairs to the kitchen, made myself food, then went back upstairs and got on my computer again. My computer screen went black, and then displayed the message. People are scared of mirrors, but what they don't realize is that the scarier things are what you don't see attack you from behind in the mirror. I only had 3 mirrors, and one in my room, and one in each of the 2 bathrooms in my house. I stared at the screen confused. Is this some kind of virus? I thought to myself with a confused look. I'll just get an antivirus and this won't happen again, I'm sure. I say calmly out loud, and then go on Google and search for a good antivirus, and download AVG. I went to take a shower and turn on the heater. It was 1 a.m. by the time I was done on my computer, and I was sleepy faster than usual, so I decided to sleep. I woke up in a cold sweat and looked at the clock. 3 a.m. It's only been a couple hours. I sat in bed for a little bit, then said to myself, I'll just go back to sleep. The only problem with that was I couldn't sleep. I heard breathing in my room, blowing off as just my imagination. I pulled a blanket over my head and fell asleep again. I had a nightmare about the guy who killed my parents. That he was watching me sleep, standing over my bed with his glowing purple eyes and the glowing purple ink. "What do you want from me?" I said in a nightmare. "Don't you remember?" he said. "I said I'd comfort you too, all those years ago." "You aren't real," I replied. "The police told me you were just a figment of my imagination, that I was probably drugged and imagined you while someone robbed the house." "If only those people were right," he said with a smug smile. "They wasted your time in that asylum, 'cause you were right all those years ago." He walked away from my bed and into my computer screen. I heard the alarm clock and bolted up. When I opened my eyes, my computer was open, and on Microsoft Word, it had the words displayed. "People are scared of dying, but what's more painful is being killed." Is this that virus again? I asked myself a little frightened. I walked into the bathroom, brushed my hair and teeth. Look into the mirror. I noticed a speck of purple ink on my cheek. I panicked a little and wiped it off. I stared in the mirror for about 5 minutes, calming myself down, then got dressed, ate breakfast, and headed off to school. In first class, I hear the normal girls gossiping and saying mean things behind my back. Then during second period, it was a free period, so I just sat at my desk on my laptop and sketched out the man from my nightmare last night. One of those girls from first period walked up from behind and opened her purple ink pen and broke it on my drawing. "Oops, sorry. I did it purposely on accident," she snorted, then laughed along with all the other people in class. By this time, I absolutely hated the color purple. If I ever see that color again, it'll be too soon. The teacher looked up from her book, then went back to reading, ignoring what just happened right in front of her eyes. I took the paper out of my notebook, threw it away, and started over on the drawing again. By the time I finished drawing it again, it was the end of second period. Third period was a free period too. After all, it was the day before winter break, when we could get our 2 weeks of vacation. Time flew by a fast pace, and before I knew it, I was walking home again, my brown hair blowing in my face thanks to the winter breeze. Snow started to fall again in harsh amounts, the snow making everything ahead of me seem like a winter abyss. I found myself lost, until I saw a car head towards me. I was in the middle of the road. The car was speeding in and out of control since the road was iced over. I quickly ran out of its way and to where its headlights illuminated a tree. I watched as the car swerved out of control on the road, crashing into a tree on the other side of the road. I ran to the car, and when I got to it, there was nothing there, just an empty space in front of my house. I looked around for the car that had just recently crashed, but I saw nothing. Why is there nothing here? I asked myself. I heard a voice reply behind my back, because there was nothing there to begin with. I turned around only to see nothing. Once again, there was nothing there waiting for me. I must be going crazy, I said to myself, hearing the voice behind my back once more. No, you aren't. I am very much real. I just do not wish to be seen in the daylight. Whoever it was had a formal way of speaking. Who are you then? And why does your voice sound familiar? I asked calmly, trying to keep my cool and barely succeeding in doing so. You'll find out soon enough. Maybe. I'll give you a couple thousand more words left. A couple more thousand words left of what? I asked, confused and afraid. He never replied, but said something irrelevant. I had no reason to kill your parents. I just wanted to. And the loneliness that you feel keeps me up and running. I have fun writing the pages that kill the victims, loved ones or friends, he says, remaining unseen. And those victims get lonely over time. That didn't answer my question, I respond. And why did you have to choose me? A tear slowly rolls from my eye, down to my cheek. And after realizing who he was, he wipes it off, leaving a trail of purple ink on my face. Well, I'll be going now, but keep in mind what I said all those years ago, how I would come back for you, and not to keep you alive either. Those words dwelled on my thoughts since he said them. I haven't heard him since. He would haunt my nightmares, no matter how casually we talked to each other that day. In the nightmare, he kept saying, "People are scared of mirrors, but what is scarier is what you can't see attack you from behind in the mirror. People are scared of dying, but what's more painful is being killed." At first, when I started to hear him say that in my nightmares, I freaked out a little, but over time, I grew more and more used to it. It's been a couple months since these entire thing started, and I really don't expect him to actually do anything for me anymore. He wore a green, red, and blue pullover jacket, and obviously his favorite color, purple jeans. Remember, he wore that outfit the day he killed my parents. Did he ever change his clothes, I wonder? Oh, I guess he does. When he's not around in my nightmares or dreams, I can always smell lavender. But what I smell when he's in my nightmares or dreams is irrelevant. Speaking of nightmares, I had another one last night. This one was different though. There were pages all over the place. I couldn't read what was going on them for some reason. And my laptop was in the midst of it all. It had a black screen, and then suddenly the words popped up on the void of the screen. It is very near for the loneliness to take over your emotions and thoughts. I believe this is what people call depression. My alarm clock went off right after I read that line a few times. Good morning, sunshine. I hear at my door, seeing my parents. Mom? Dad? It can't be. I cry. You guys, he killed you. 11 years ago, you were both murdered. They walked towards me, and I got out of bed. Only, that wasn't me. It was me 11 years ago. I stood in the corner, unnoticed by my parents. There was something moving behind them. I saw a glimpse of purple. Could it be that bloody novelist? He was there that morning too, watching my parents. But he smiled past me. My past self looks behind them and smiles. So obviously I seen him before and knew him, right? 7-year-old me pushed my parents out of my room and got dressed. After I got dressed, she said, "You know, Mr. Novelist? You don't have to hide." She smiles. "You're just my imaginary company when I'm lonely. I'd rather remain unseen while your parents are still in the house," he says. "That way they don't think I'm an intruder or pedophile after you, because they might be able to see imaginary friends, too." I stand there shocked, watching as my younger self, and what I call him, bloody novelist, talk ever so casual, as if they knew each other their whole lives. And the novelist writes something down on a piece of paper and puts it in his hood pocket. What did that say? I think aloud, maybe something unimportant since he just put the paper away. Oh no, it's important. I hear him say to younger me. You'll see what it says later. He smiles slightly, dripping a little ink on my room's floor. They walk out of the room and I follow, curious as to what's happening. I walk in the living room only for it to be a different time of day. Lunchtime. I watch as that bloody novelist pulled a piece of paper from earlier out of his pocket. Past me, looked at the novelist and asked, face full of food, "What's that, Mr. Novelist?" He gives the paper to her and tells her to read it. I walked over to past me and read the paper too. "Forget me," it said. After past me reads the paper and blacks out, forgetting the bloody novelist. The paper burns itself to ashes. I stare shocked. When I turn around, I'm in my room, at a different time again. This time it was night. Past me is sleeping soundly in our bed. A paper falls gently onto her face, waking her up, since I've always been an easy person to wake up. She reads the paper and so do I again. This time it says, "Forget you read this after you go to the hall in front of the living room, and help then once done stand in the hall again, and forget what you helped with." Help with what? I thought. She and I both walk out to the hall. Once we're out of the doorway, the paper burns itself to ashes once again. There I witnessed what happened before my parents were murdered. How he murdered them, to be exact. He popped his head and hands out of their computer, which was currently hooked up to the TV, so they could watch some shows on the internet. They screamed. Past me smiled. He threw a paper airplane at my father and said, "Read it, or die more painful than you already would." Dad opened the paper airplane and read it out loud. "Current mothers and fathers in the room are now paralyzed." He dropped the paper and mother screamed and struggled to move. Father let a tear drop down his cheek, also unable to move. The bloody novelist gave a sinister grin and said, "Come out from the hall, Arya." He glanced over to past me, who was slowly walking out from the hall with a deviant smile. No control over her body, I chased after her, trying to get her to stop, but it was no use. I just kept phasing through her, not able to touch her. The bloody novelist brings himself completely out of the computer. He was in and writes on a paper, "Go get a knife, Arya." Past me gets a knife from the kitchen and returns, still smiling a deviant smile. He hands her a piece of paper and she reads it out loud. "Go crazy, Arya. Get your parents back for all the times they've ignored you, yelled at you, and punished you." She cried and frowned. Reluctantly walked over to her parents and said, "I'm sorry, Mommy and Daddy." Tears fall down her face more. I don't want to do this, but I can't stop. Her tears turn to laughter, and her frown turns into a wide smile. She brings herself back a small hand that's holding her knife and laughs. "I'm sorry, Mommy and Daddy. I love you," are the last words that escape her mouth before her hand swings forward and into her dad's guts. He coughs up crimson blood and she stabs him into his throat. I watch, breaking into insane laughter, as if I had lost my mind and crying while laughing. "All this is a dream," I yell. "A terrible nightmare. This never happened. This couldn't have happened." Past me walks over to Mom. "I could never kill anyone." I cry and laugh as if I went insane. The bloody novelist watches as past me stabs her parents to death. Her laughing just as insane as I currently am now. I blink, and when I open my eyes, I let out a blood-curdling scream. "Where am I?" I yell in another room. A dark one with only a light purple glow. I run towards the purple glow. That was the biggest mistake I've ever made. Remember now I said the bloody novelist had purple glowing eyes? Well, guess what the light was? The only light in the room. His eyes. He's just calmly sitting there on the floor, Indian style. He looks at me for a second, writes something down, then nonchalantly stands up and puts the paper within reading distance of my face. I read it out loud, blink, and return to your room. After I read it, I blinked, and when my eyes opened, I was in my room somehow. Those papers he writes on, could it be those that make people do what he wants? Is that what I would need to get rid of to where he can't hurt me? I see him in the corner of my room. Sorry, it's not the papers. Try again. He says as if I were playing some sort of game with him. Is it the pen you use? I ask, helping him write. And how did you know what I was thinking? Oh, just your novel of thoughts is all. Nice to know what a victim is thinking before they die. But the only time I can tell what the victim is thinking is when the amount of loneliness they suffer from makes them depressed, which is also when I killed them. He replies. And also my only real weakness would be water. Seeing as to I exist in a computer, I want my ink formless and whatnot. Any woozles, let's have fun, shall we? How about I do this? He writes something down on a piece of paper and tells me to read it out loud. I read it out loud because I didn't want to be killed no matter how depressed I was. Mirror maze is what was written on the paper this time. Once I blink, I figure I'll be put in a mirror maze, which would be dumb because I obviously see him in one of the mirrors. I blink and open my eyes just to get it over with. I look behind me and he's standing there. People are always scared of mirrors, but what's scarier are the things you can't see attack you from behind in the mirror. I stare at him trying to process what he's saying. People are always scared of dying, but what's more painful is being killed. He smirks and looks straight into his purple glowing eyes. What's that supposed to mean? I yell. Well, Arya, look for my reflection. You'll see. He smiles wildly, dripping some ink on the floor from his mouth as I try to look for his reflection. It isn't there, I state. Where is it? It is nowhere, he replies. I have no shadow simply because I am not alive. I am merely a ghost, he replies. I look frightened and say, then how do you have what, Arya? He asks. The weakness of water, I yell, remembering what I was going to say and saying it. Tisk tisk tisk. Alright, you must learn to pay attention to things that happen and how. He smiles cynically, and looking at him feels as if we're staring into my soul. Now run along this little mirror maze I made, and try not to get killed by me, which is most likely impossible. I do what he says in hopes that I might just survive. I ran into at least 2 mirrors before I found a paper he taped to the mirror. Eternal bleeding was written on the paper. Suddenly I cough up blood, and there's a sharp pain in my gut. I try to go forward but end up blacking out from the pain. When I wake up, I'm in a different area of the maze. I continue looking for the exit. There are so many reflections, I think to myself. I want to break these mirrors down and die. He said I wouldn't make it through here without dying anyway, so what's the point? I slouch against a mirror, holding my stomach, waiting to see a piece of paper float down and lay on my lap. I pick it up and read what's written on it. Don't give up so soon, Arya. And also, migraine. Suddenly my head pounds, and I scream in pain and cry. I can feel I'm about to snap, about to lose my sanity in this hell. I see a bucket of water sitting by me, with a little note on it. Use this in defense, if you must. My worst weakness is handed to you, so I can watch our little game a bit longer. Use it wisely. I grab the pail of water tightly and start to stand up. I feel a blow on my ear and turn around to see nothing. It was just a ruse, so I'd probably use the water on nothing instead of him. I continue on my way to find the exit. I run into a dead end, but find another paper. This time it says, "Hey Arya, guess what? Fever and nausea." I drop the book on the ground and puke deep crimson blood. Holding my head and my stomach, I fall down. Tears fill my eyes and I cradle myself. I had just lost my only hope to get out of this place. The pail of water. I shake my head crying and throwing up more blood. It feels like I've thrown up my intestines. The pain burns and I can hardly breathe from it. I might as well be dead by now. There was no chance of survival. I watch as his red Converse walk up to my dying body and drop a paper that reads out, "I told you, I would be back for you." He starts laughing hysterically at my pain and seeing me suffer. "Oh, Arya," he manages to say between his laughter, "you look like you're in so much pain." He keeps laughing. "You think you're in more pain than I just through when I was killed and became this, don't you?" He laughs more. I manage to sputter out the words, "You were killed?" His mood suddenly plummets, and he frowns, staring at me with a mad expression. "You're being killed too. Now shut up, Arya," he says, obviously now in a bad mood. "Before I die, how were you killed?" I manage to say once again. "How was I killed?" He seems angry. "I used to be someone nobody would miss. The people who would miss me hated me for my writing talents. How I could write amazing stories that the teachers would praise me for. I died lonely, bullied, and not missed by anyone. The bullies gave me simply too much of a beating and got away with it. Nobody even cared." I look up at him, with my last breath being used. "But that wasn't any of your business, Arya." He writes something on a piece of paper and puts it in front of my now slowly closing eyes. It had the words written on it. "Die painfully, and hope you're missed on like I was." There was a large amount of pain resonating in my body. I coughed up more blood. Using the last of my strength, I said, "I'm sorry, bloody novelist, about how you died." After those words were said, my clock had stopped. I had died in that hell of a mirror maze, just like I thought I would. The bloody novelist walks away from my corpse with a smile humming, and later on my body was found in my room. My stomach had been stabbed multiple times, and I was poisoned, lying a pool of my own blood. Or so the investigators thought. Nobody would believe me, not unless they've experienced it on their own to know I wasn't crazy. Only 3 people showed up to my funeral and missed me. Seth, my friend, and his parents. I'm grateful to be missed and have been loved, unlike the bloody novelist who was never loved or missed. I feel bad for his victims, because you all should know he will come for you, and you had better fear when he does. Closing your computer won't help. It'll only make him more determined. So be careful, and hope he doesn't choose you next.